everyone, so welcome back to another Needle Sound video, and this one, as I promised in the last video, is a DIY video of just DIY stuff around my new house. Like I said, I'm gonna be uploading more DIY stuff, and this is the first DIY project that I'm doing in the house, and one that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. Most of my friends and family know that for the past, I'd say 6 months, I have been wanting to paint this ugly kitchen a really nice light sort of grey but almost white. So it's taken me a long time. I've done months and months of research. I've probably watched about 10 kitchen DIY videos every day to like understand and imprint in my brain how to do this process, because I don't want to get it wrong. It is a temporary thing that we're gonna have. We are eventually gonna have the kitchen all changed, but for now I would much rather be looking at something else other than these cabinets. This is going to be a video, it's probably going to be a bit of a long-winded one, so I hope you guys are ready, and I'm going to be doing it over about 3 days. I hope. It's Friday today. I still have to get all these cabinets off the I'm actually only painting the doors. I don't know if I'm going to paint these side bits yet. I'm quite lucky that these side panels aren't actually wood, apart from the trim around the edges. But I think for now I'm just going to take the doors off. I have to take all the like the hardware off and the hinges on the inside. Don't mind like messy cabinets. So yeah, that's going to take me a while to do, and also I have to prepare the living room and put dust sheets down, because that is where I have to lay out all the doors to dry. So yeah, I also have to prep this kitchen because it's full of stuff, because we literally only moved in 2 weeks ago and there's still stuff everywhere. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop talking and show you guys how I prep everything for this project. Mic check, 1 2 1 2 2 2. Here's the kitchen, just for a full perspective. So yeah, you can see it's like this grainy, it is solid wood, it's not laminate, and yeah, it's got like grains in there, so I have to make sure that with the primer the grains don't seep through, and if they do I'll have to use a bit of wood filler. I've already taken off some of the hardware. I just used that thing and I put them in a little box, and this is a sample of like a tester pot that I used, and actually this is one reason why you shouldn't paint straight on it, because look, there's a bristle there as well. I need to get rid of that somehow, sand that out probably. I didn't do an undercoat here, I literally just slapped the paint on, and this is just one coat, so it doesn't actually look that nice. I need to take this stuff off. So yeah, it was just for me to get a random idea about, a rough idea about the thing. This was the tester I used, so it's the V3V Renovation Paint Soft Grey Satin. This tester pot was quite expensive, so anyways, this is what I've done to my living room. I've covered pretty much everything. This is where the doors are going to go for drying, and this is where I'm going to lay out all the stuff that you actually need to use. So I'm going to take a picture of that now. I guess I'll just start from the paint. So I've got a quick dry primer for wood. This is the first DIY project I'm ever doing in my life, guys, so please bear with me. After doing much research, I found that this was a color that I thought would work. I've watched people's YouTube videos of how their kitchens turned out, and I really liked this color. Yeah, this one's really good because it's water-based. It says you don't need to use an undercoat, but I'm still going to use one anyways, because I don't trust how that just looked on that door after a day of drying. It's specially made for kitchen and cupboards, so that's what you want, a specialist kitchen and cupboard paint. And yeah, so that's that. I've also got this turpentine substitute, which is to clean oil-based paint. So this is actually water-based, so I'm actually cleaning my paintbrush that I use for the tester in this water now. I'm letting it sit in warm soapy water for a little bit. This primer, I'm not sure if it's oil-based or whatever, so I've just got the turpentine just in case. I've got these from B&Q, Most of the stuff I actually did buy from B&Q. The only stuff that I didn't buy is obviously all these Wilko bits. I felt like Wilko was a good place to go to buy stuff. These dust sheets were only £1 each. These sponges were like 99p or something. And this is ready to use sugar soap, which I will get into that later, why we need that. And that was like £2.50, I think. This, my dad very kindly lent me, the sander. And then I've got loads of bits of sandpaper in here, different grits, which I will also get into later. A dust cloth to clean off any dust and residue, a paint stirrer, safety, so goggles, dust masks and gloves, masking tape for any ridges, and then rollers. These are actually microfiber rollers, which are to give a smoother finish on kitchen cabinets, and then just a couple of these paint trays. What I'm gonna do now is start taking off more of these bits of hardware and just try and get all these doors down and put them in the living room ready for cleaning, which is what I was mentioning with the sugar soap. So you actually have to use the sugar soap and clean off all the residue and grease. That needs to be done before you do anything, and then you need to sand, and then once you've sanded, you need to then apply your primer. And the sandpaper that you're going to use straight after you use the sugar soap will be about 80 or 100 grit, and then you apply your primer and make sure you sand in between each coats as well. And the reason why we sand is to just make sure that everything's smooth, there's no bumpy ridges. We want a nice smooth finish on the kitchen cabinets. So yeah, let's do this now, and realize that this is just glued into the drawer and there's no way of me taking it off. So that's gonna be fun to paint. Guys, Luke is actually a genius. He figured out how to take off this, which will actually make my life even easier when it comes to painting. We took this off, and how Luke figured out the idea is that it's got these like hook things that hook into the actual cabinet here, and they're connected by these screws. So I've just unscrewed them and they're just there, and the whole thing's come off. And I'm so happy. Yes, wow, amazing. One more thing as well we need to do before we start taking off all these drawers and cupboards and stuff is a label, number, whatever, however you want to do it, the door and the cabinets. So for example, this would be A1, and then I'd put an A1 sticker just there or something, so that when it comes to putting them back on, you know where they go. And right now, unscrewing all these drawers with an electric screwdriver is honestly the easiest and quickest way to do this. It really sped up my workflow. Honestly, I wish I could have done this in how fast this time lapse is. It would have really sped up the whole day. But yeah, this was the best way I found instead of using a manual screwdriver. I did use one when I needed to. Now taking off, these belong to all the cupboard doors. These are the screws for the drawers, and then these are all the hardware for the doors. Put all the drawer sort of tops here, and I also do need to take these off as well, but for now I'm just trying to get everything off out here, and then I'll take off whatever else is left. So now I need to take off all the hinges from the doors and just get them off and onto the floor. I have managed to take off these doors. I feel pretty proud of myself. I've never done anything like this before. I've put some of the doors, well, just like a couple doors down there. Such a nice thing. I think I'm just gonna do the rest off camera because I'm feeling, I don't know why I'm feeling pressure to like do it quickly, even though it should be more of a relaxed thing, and I think that's because I'm doing it with the recording. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and take off all these, which is basically the same thing I did, and I will show you once it's all done. So everything is now in the living room. I've realized that I have nowhere to walk, and whenever I walk on this, it's really slippery. So I'm gonna try and make some kind of walkway here in the middle and push everything up that way, so at least I have easy access to these doors when it comes to painting. The next thing to do, guys, is to clean all the gunk and grease off each cabinet door and the drawers as well. So I've got this sugar soap here from Wilko. Wow, at least there was no paint on those doors because that would have been mad. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that now to all the doors and all the drawers. Another thing you want is some water in a tub and a cloth, just so you can rinse off the sugar soap from the doors as well. So as mentioned, this section, you really want to get in there, get all the scum and dirt and grease off. We don't know how long the previous owners were living here for, so we don't know how much cooking oils and things like that were on these doors. So I really gave them a proper scrub down, made sure I got off everything I could. Right, so this is harder than I actually thought. I don't know why I'm out of breath. I think it's because I'm slightly stressing out that I might not have enough space. So I moved the table over there, have a bit more space, but I'm stressing out a bit now as well because these hinges, the brown things, they don't really come off. I'm also thinking that I wish I cleaned the doors with sugar soap whilst they were on the cabinets, because now I'm having to like pick them up, twist them around, but we'll see how we get on. I'm not gonna give up. That was long. It felt like it was about 2 hours of cleaning these, but I think it was only like 45 minutes. That was so long because I was doing it on this dust sheet, and then the dust sheet started ripping, and then I started spilling water everywhere. Yeah, I definitely recommend cleaning these doors and drawers whilst they're on the cabinet. So what I've done now is I've just put them on the side so that they can dry, because what I was finding when I laid them flat on the floor, the other side wasn't dry. I'm gonna start with this one that was the first one that I washed, and I'm gonna actually start to sand it with 80 to 100 grit. I need to check what I have in my box, but something like that. And you don't want to go too hard, you just want to go light to get the top layer of like finish off, that waxy finish, so that the primer and paint can adhere to the wood. Otherwise it will just be a bit bubbly, and yeah, it just won't be the best finish. As you can see, it's dark outside now. I took a bit of a break because that just was so long, and now they're dry, which is good. So I'm gonna start sanding everything and just get on with that. I'm all ready to go. This looks mad. I don't even know if I can see properly, but we need protection for our eyes and we don't want to breathe in any dust. So put these gloves on and I'm gonna start going. I'm gonna be using this Bosch hand sander, and I'm gonna be using an 80 grit. Now, every part is important, but for me, I feel like this is the part that you really want to get right. You know, you're creating a base for the paint to adhere to, so push down on the sander. You don't want to over sand, obviously, but you really do want to get that shiny lacquer off. Make sure that it doesn't seep through the paint, and also making sure that you sand in the direction of the wood grain. So I'm just going to make sure that, you know, very, very lightly. You don't want to go a bit too much, and just make sure you're getting in these crevices here. And so after that, you just want to get a lint-free cloth, or a cloth that's made to get rid of dust, and you just want to wipe away the excess dust, because this is something that you don't want to be putting back into the paint. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 more doors to do. Oh, 12 more doors and 5 drawers. I've managed to finally sand everything. I'm not gonna lie, my whole body is aching. I did not anticipate how long that would take and how sore my arms would feel, and my back and my arms are just cramping. But hey, this is the fun of it, and I know that it's gonna look amazing when it's all done. But yeah, you might be able to see that the floor has like so much dust on it, and I kind of don't want to use the same dust sheet for when I'm painting. So I'm actually now thinking that I might clean this dust sheet up and put something new down on the floor so that it doesn't get into the wet paint. Oh my gosh.
5 hours later.
Can anybody sympathize when they have noisy neighbors? I honestly feel like they're right in my house. It's crazy. So anyways, I'm gonna start packing this up now and tidying up, and then hopefully can apply a layer of primer. I believe it must be almost like 7:45 now, and I started this at 2 o'clock, so it's literally taken the whole day just to clean, take off the doors, clean them, sand them, and yeah, there you go. Now I've got this new protection on the floor, I'm actually going to start getting my primer together to put the first coat on all the cabinets. With these glass ones, we're going to have to cover these with like masking tape around the ridges so I don't get it on the glass. And also I just need to make sure that it's all going to fit on the floor, because right now it looks great because they're all sort of perched up against the wall, but like you saw earlier, it was a bit hard for me to walk and I don't know if I have space for the drawers, so we'll see how it goes. Now I think it's like 9:30, just for your reference. This is the quick drying primer that I have, and oh, I don't actually know how to open a paint tin. This is really bad. I'm gonna presume first I should shake it before I open it anyways, so. And I've also got a paint stirrer, which I really have, so I've got this paint stirrer. I've also got an angled paintbrush. I use this paint roller to actually put in the primer, but I need to get this open.
I managed to get this paint tin open with the flathead screwdriver you see there on the right hand side of the table. And yeah, I'm just giving it a really good stir. You really want to get all the paint mixed together. There might be some bits at the bottom that really need to be mixed together to create the perfect blend. And now we're finally ready for priming. So what I'm doing is going around all the ridges first, making sure that I'm using the angled paintbrush, getting in there, and then using the roller on the outside of the trim, and really just covering as much space and as much groundwork as I can. Here is Luke giving me a bit of a helping hand, and funnily enough, joining in on the fun part, making sure that we mask up the glass on these cabinet doors so that we don't get any paint on them, even though it is water-based, so it would be easy to clean.
Hey guys, so it's another day. Another nice shiny day. I had to leave it like this last night. This is just the first coat, and I've still got all those to do and all the drawers. I didn't realise I had to work last night, so by the time I finished it was like 2 in the morning. I can't lie, I'm in a lot of pain this morning. I don't know, I guess sitting on the floor was just a lot for my body. I'm not used to it. Anyway, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna actually just try to finish these. So I'm gonna sand the ones that I've already painted with a 240 grit. I'm gonna be using this sandpaper so I can just rip it off and just very lightly sand, because the whole point of doing this is so that you smooth the surface out from when, don't mind my messy living room, I've literally chucked everything over there. Yeah, the whole point of doing is so that I smooth anything out before I put the second coat on. So I'm gonna sandpaper that first before I paint the other cupboards that need painting, because I don't want any loose dust to get in the wet paint on those other cupboards. So I'm just gonna do that now, and then hopefully I can get the second coat on for all the cupboards and drawers today, and I think that's my task for the day.
Here's a quick trick. The night before, I covered my paint brushes in cling film so that they still are moist and they don't dry up for the next day of painting. Next up really is sanding, and I'm really doing this as light as possible, because if you do sand too hard at this point, you are going to sand a lot of the primer off, because there is only a thin layer of primer on. So yeah, just to create a nice flat surface. And here we are going in with the first coat on the second lot of doors, and This paint really is touch dry in 1 hour, I believe. I think it's completely dry in 6 hours, so that's why I was able to do as much painting as I'm doing today. And yeah, just make sure you take off as many hinges as you can. These ones with the brown bits still wouldn't come off, so I'm just painting around them for now, but having a lot of fun doing the base priming of these kitchen cabinets. Here we can see the final first coat on all the cupboard doors. I was really proud of myself by this point. I'd done so much work, and you can see how the grain is still coming through, but don't forget we're going to be doing a second coat of primer on all these doors.
Now that I've finished doing my first coat of primer on all the cupboards, I'm going to go back on the cupboards that I painted yesterday and do a second coat, and then this evening I will sand everything, dust off the sand, and do the rest of the cupboards, doors and drawers. And then tomorrow I will do the primer on the other side and do the whole thing again, 2 coats, sanding in between, and then come Monday I will actually start to paint the grey colour, which I'm excited for. But I must say, if you guys are doing this project, just be prepared and have something comfortable to sit on. I've now resorted to sitting on a pillow, and also wear clothes obviously that you don't really mind getting paint on. So I'm now covered a little bit in paint, but it's okay.
Going in now with the second coat of primer, and honestly this is really where I started to see the project coming together. You'll see just how quickly it makes a difference, just another coat. Actually you can see on the right and compare it to those ones on the left that have the first coat, and it's really creating that perfect layer just before we put the grey paint on so that it sits really well on the wood. I believe this is now after a good few hours of drying, and it really looks like the primer has settled in well. Getting onto the next side now, doing the same thing, the exact same thing, going in with a first coat of primer, letting that dry for a bit, sanding in between, and doing the second coat of primer. But we are now approaching it in the same way. I don't know if you noticed as well, when I did the primer on the first time, I actually did it on the inside of the doors because I haven't done this before, and I thought if I made any mistakes it's better to do it on the inside. So now that I've obviously had practice on 12 doors doing them on the inside, I felt confident by this point to do the outside of the doors and make sure that I got them in the most perfect way that I could possibly do after hours of sitting on the floor. But I guess you're gonna have to wait to the end to see the final product and make your own decision on whether you think I did a great job on painting these doors as my first DIY project. Now, as complicated as it may look, I really enjoyed doing the drawers. It was really therapeutic, but I had to make sure that I did the ridges inside the drawer and around where the handle would be before I actually went over with the paint roller. Going over with the paint roller is the most satisfying thing, I will tell you that now, and it is really just so much fun.
Hey everyone, so it's Monday and like I said, this is the day where I'll be painting the cupboards grey. I've primed both sides as you've seen. I'm using this paint again, as I showed you in the beginning of the video. It's the V3V paint in soft grey satin. It's cupboard paint from B&Q. I think it was about £36 per pot. I've put it in here and as you can see it's like a light grey sort of almost white colour, and that is exactly what I was going for. So I've actually just poured the rest of the mini tester pot in there so I don't have to open this in case I don't like it and I have to waste £36 of my money. Usually I go around with a brush and I do all the trim first, but I do kind of just want to see the colour first, so I think I'm just going to go in with a paintbrush and just dab a little bit so I can at least see the colour. It's quite thin, this paint actually, which is different to the primer that I've been using. So let's just see. Ooh, I like that.
That's a nice colour.
Yeah, you probably can't see it that well in the thing. So I think I like it enough that I'm going to go around the whole cupboard. So I'm just going to do the edges. Dabble it in the roller. I'm liking this colour. Luke also bought me a better roller, so thank goodness, because the other one was really dying out.
As I mentioned, the paint was a lot thinner than expected, actually a lot thinner than the primer, so I did have to go over these coats quite a few times. I was also noticing that if I went over it too much, then the roller marks would get in there, so just make sure you're gentle and light and make sure you're getting a good amount of paint on the cabinet door.
So I've used up all the paint from what was left over in the tester pot. Hard to see just like that, but if I put this one next to it, which is the plain white with the primer, I feel like it's too light. And I kind of want it to be a bit more grey, but I'm really impressed with the finish of this. I mean, I can't even remember what my old cabinets look like. It's so smooth, and I love that the grain is still coming through. Yeah, I'm really impressed with this paint.
I don't know why I love shaking the pot before I use the paint stirrer, because the paint stirrer is going to do the exact same thing, but I think I just find it really satisfying. So yeah, I'm going in with the paint stirrer, doing the exact same thing as with the primer, mixing it and also pouring enough in there for what I need before, because I don't really want it to dry up whilst I'm painting. So moving on to the rest of the doors now, you can start to see the colour difference between those that are painted grey and then the other ones that have the primer on them. And I've actually noticed in this video that over time, the colour seems to settle in a bit more and go a bit more darker than of what it looked like when I just painted the grey onto the primer. This was pretty crazy to see because it was basically the final color, the final coat. I didn't put any more on after this. I only did one coat because I didn't really want it to go any darker. I kind of liked how light it was. Now Luke has come back in for the final fun bits again, and he's helping me put on the handles, the hardware of all the doors, and we've got our little pots, which I'm so grateful for at this point because I had everything organized from the start. And right now you can see me struggling with trying to put this drawer on. I actually ended up having to take off those little brackets and fit them on around the other way and try to get the drawers on.
Now it's time for the big reveal. I have everything ready. Luke has been my helper today and we are going to put up everything and I won't have to look at all the mess ever again. So remember that we labeled everything, and what I did was I actually put on the floor, if you can see here, what they were, and I did that all the way around, and now it's going to correspond, because I honestly can't remember what I did 4 days ago, and it's going to correspond with what's here. So hopefully it works. It seems pretty simple and I think it's going to be fine, so here we go.
You really want to make sure at this point that you've got somebody to help you, because as easy as it looks, watching these kitchen videos, it is hard to put these doors on. It's much easier when you've got somebody holding the bottom of it when you're trying to slot it in, especially with the hinges that were on these cabinets. It felt like they were from the 80s or something ancient like that. So yeah, I'm so grateful at this point. You can also see that we're using the manual screwdriver because that seemed to be the easiest way, where the electric one, it was kind of getting in the way of the hinges, so it was harder to fit on. And again, we are struggling with the drawers here, but we did eventually manage to get those back on too.
So everyone, it is the end of the video and it has been a long process. I think it's been 3, 4, 5, 6 days. No, 5 days. I can't count. 5 days, and this is the finished result. And yeah, it is a lot brighter. I'll put some pictures as well. And I do really like how the wood grain comes in. I didn't actually think I was gonna like that at first, but yeah, I like that now. And yeah, I just don't know what to say. I'm like a bit bewildered, I don't know. I like it, I like the colour. I think I might go over it again. You probably can't see it, it is really light, and I like how it's brightened up the kitchen. So yeah, this is a cheap and easy, well, kind of easy way of how to brighten your kitchen and turn it into almost a new feeling kitchen without spending hardly any money. Thanks for watching, and there are definitely more DIY videos coming, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna have a good rest for a couple weeks maybe, and then get prepped for the next one. So see you guys on the next video.